Oh, shit. Okay, what's up, guys? And woof, I just desperately checked my mailbox in case I got one of those warning letters. Man, we're gonna dive into what I'm talking about, by the way, because there's some crazy stuff going on with crypto folks getting thousands of them, by the way, getting warning letters from the IRS. And so, before I streamed today, I had to go out to my mailbox to see if I got one of those. Fortunately, I did not, but that's one of the many things we're going to dive into today. We got XRP news, Algorand news, and Hedera news on the docket today, and that's primarily where I'm going to start focusing these live streams on the three of those there. So welcome everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Chat's really quiet right now, but hopefully that will pick up. I think the main thing is that I should have more viewers on Kick than YouTube right now. It always takes a while because I put I got to remember to put, there's like an order where I go live and then I start updating all these stuff on YouTube. You know, you got to put the tags in, you got to put the thumbnail in, all that kind of stuff. And I got to get better at doing that in a different order so it actually works. But yeah, hope everyone's doing well out there today. I hope welcome out to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Really helps with the channel. If you're on Kick, if you're not, feel free to give us a follow. We definitely want to get more followers on there if you're new here. And by the way, you can subscribe on Kick as well, and you can do gifted subs, and you can actually do gifted subs on YouTube as well. I don't know if people know that. I think that's a really neat tool that they have. So just want to make that aware. As always, super chats are appreciated when possible. So thanks so much for all those. I've gotten a few of those over time. And yeah, very quiet on YouTube today. One thing I wish YouTube did, I feel like it's really bad at letting you know when the channels you follow are live. And so, you know, if you want to get these, you want to make sure you put the notification bell on, by the way. Markets have been interesting, and I will say channel members, by the way, got an exclusive. They got a look at my inside look at my bull run portfolio, how it's going, and as well as my various experiments like Alpha Arcade and Tiny Man USDC T Algo pool. We got some news about governance coming up too, by the way, which I think some people might be confused on, so we're going to dive into that a little bit as well. Let me just get this set up here. Oh, we have it. Good. That's all set up. Yeah, a lot of stuff. We're going to do a reaction video toward the end. Cloudy Vibes in the chat. What's up, Cloudy Vibes? Welcome to the show. Yeah, it's starting to trickle in on YouTube now. It always takes a little while. Like I said, I just really wish YouTube did a lot better of a job getting it out there. The best one seems to be X. X really helps you share your stream. Unfortunately, there's no monetization. It'd be really nice. I really hope they get that accomplished. I heard Asmongold, the very popular streamer who's now making a big splash on Kick, after he's still streaming on Twitch, but also on Kick, supposedly is working with Elon behind the scenes to make live streaming a real thing on X. Oh, Fisherman in the chat. What is up, my friend? Good morning. Yes, and by the way, that's a good excuse to remind you guys that we are brought to you by non-fungible domains. So if you want that .algo address that makes doing everything in Algorand so much easier, be sure to check out non-fungible domains. I use it on a daily basis. I'll tell you what, anytime if I go to ASA stats, like I'm not going to punch in LVR or whatever, I'm going to punch in .algo, frugalbc.algo, and that gets me right where I need to go. So be sure to check them out. And we're also brought to you by Marcus Aurelius. That's right. That's a meme coin, an NFT project on the Algorand blockchain, spreading the word about stoicism, which, hey, that's been a really important thing for me in my life, especially when you're a business owner. Like, I mean, the last few days, I made more than I did in 2 weeks at my day job, but not every week is like that. Some weeks you make a lot less. And so you really stoicism is really important. And I will tell you, Marcus Aurelius, I love what they're doing. So both of these are projects I believe in. I've gotten a lot of sponsorship requests that I just go in the waste bin because they're not aligned with my values. These two guys are doing it right. Well, Cathal Gallagher is in the chat, the founder of Algorand Casino. We actually have a news item about Algorand Casino coming up, how they're open sourcing the code. So we will look at that a little bit. They also have a very lengthy AMA that you should check out. Yeah, definitely getting some viewers on YouTube now, so that's good. It's trickling in. Got some Kick viewers too. I would just love it. I need like 1 subscriber on Kick. That would be, I used to like be struggling to get a viewer. It's really hard to grow on some of these streaming platforms because there's just no discovery mechanism. That's one issue. It just means the bigger streamers get bigger because they float to the top. In fact, the way I started getting any viewers on Kick, by the way, is you have to like watch your own stream basically. So I have my stream pulled up on 2 different platforms in my house, and that helps me get more viewers, because now I get a few viewers because it pops you up in the feed. But we won't, yeah, so Cloudy Vibe says, what's up with governance 15? Yeah, we're going to look at that. So governance actually never went away, but I don't think it has any awards. That's what we're going to dive more into that. That's one of the news items that I have pulled up. We're going to talk about governance. It never was meant to like fully go away. It just wasn't going to be. That's what Adri said on our channel. But I don't know if they've been doing the regular ones, so we'll dive in. We will dive into that. My understanding is there's just no rewards. That's the only thing. Interesting. I'm getting an email from Restream to reconnect my YouTube, but you guys are seeing it. Obviously, I've got 10 viewers. I got viewers on X. So, just a reminder, go ahead and if you haven't hit the like button on YouTube, please do so, because it'll help more people see the channel. Yeah, we got some devs in the viewership today. That's pretty cool. All right. Well, why don't we just go right to the charts? So let me pull that up here. Let's see. Yeah, we gotta like zoom that in a little bit. Doot. And I'm actually on the other side, so I think I'm gonna put myself. Yeah, well, actually, why don't we leave it there? It's a little bit easier to see, isn't it? Yeah, so Bitcoin back under 107, but, it's holding off pretty well comparatively. And, I guess I'll give a little of the tea away for my viewers here. Bitcoin was like my best performer of anything that I held. Which was pretty amazing. That's why I've completely changed my Bitcoin strategy. I went into that in my members only video, so you guys can check that out if you want by becoming a channel member. Otherwise, Ethereum, still sitting under 2,500. XRP at $2, and XRP is a good chance to talk about this. It's a good excuse to talk about this principle I'm going to mention. And that principle is the sense of myopicism. Is that a word? Is that a word, myopicism? This myopic thinking where it's like, oh, it's down, so that sucks. I bought XRP at like 50 some cents. In fact, I had an ongoing joke for a while that XRP was like a 53-cent stable coin because it seemed to always be 53 cents every time I checked. So I'm up almost 4x. Even now, even at $2, I'm up almost 4x on my XRP. That's not really something to complain about. I've got other coins that I'm way down on. I'll be honest. I'll tell you what. Let's see. Yeah, Solana at 150. I bought a lot of Solana at around $19. Let's see. Anything else interesting? Everything's just kind of flat. It's a pretty flat. It's been flat the last few days, even the last week. I mean, it's relatively flat. Let's look at the outliers here. Yeah, Say has had a week. This Say has been kind of dodging. Every time I check Say, it seems to be up. Say has had a week. It's had its Say this week. It's bad. It's really bad. I'll punch myself later, I promise. Pudgy Penguins is doing okay, and Aptos having a decent week, as well as being up. There's not a lot up right now. XDC, where's Bobby Jonas? Where's Bobby Jonas? What's that at anyway? What's number 69? Yeah, it's getting a little too close to Algorand. How's it done in a year? Yeah, it's up. You know, everyone had this nice spike. Well, actually, XDC spike was quite a bit earlier or later. I'm sorry, it wasn't that December spike that a lot of the other utility altcoins saw. It actually spiked in January. But yeah, sitting around 5-6 cents, but it's definitely up on the week or up on the year. I'm sorry, up on the year by 95%. That's pretty good. Let's say, just out of curiosity. Yeah, Say's actually down, so that's pretty interesting. Well, I got a fake chat. That's fun in Kick, but I never get. Yeah, so if you're watching on Kick, you know, feel free to leave us a chat. I'm keeping an eye on it. Sometimes, now this one actually popped up in my OBS. Sometimes the Kick chat doesn't pop up there, so I've learned I have to kind of watch it, but this one did, so that's cool. Yeah, Sui, actually Sui's up a little bit on the day, but look at this. Is an interesting one to look at, in my opinion. I've totally changed my mind on Sui, by the way, not as an investment, because yeah, I've noticed like there's a gulf between coins that I think are good in terms of the fundamentals, the things that they're doing, the problems they're solving, and the ones that I think are not good. Sui, I've actually changed my mind on. I'm not like doing Sui content anymore. I was not impressed that they could just pull back on transactions whenever they feel like it. That is not decentralized. It might be ideal, but it's not decentralized. That did not happen in the my algo hacks on Algorand. And it sucks. I mean, there were a lot of people that, you know, even like, what was it, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, I got a message on one of my algo hack videos asking what can be done. And it's like, not much. That's what decentralization is. When you can just pull back transactions, when you can just pause them and say, oh, for these wallets, you're no longer permissioned. That's not permissionless. And we're going to look at Justin Bond's called Sui decentralized, and we're going to talk about why that's. And he recently had one about Algorand and still complaining about certain things. It's ridiculous. But we'll get into that. Yeah, I mean, up 200%, and I bought. Yeah, I think I bought around $1, something like that. When did I buy? It was earlier than this, actually. I think. Gosh, I wish I remember when I bought. I think maybe it was later. I remember it was around $1, so I'm up still pretty well on my Sui. But I don't really like it. Same with Solana. Like I think its tokenomics suck. I think it's basically a joke as a blockchain. It's always down. It goes down all the time. The transactions fail all the time. But you know what? Makes money. Totally separate thing. So I mean, you have to separate this stuff. Maple Finance. I never even heard of this. I wonder if there's something that shows you like the amount of churn. Yeah, this would have been a good investment a year ago. It's up 100%. Yeah, anyway, like I said, there's not really much doing well in the last 24 hours. How about this week? Yeah, Maple Finance has done well. Actually, Algorand's in number 11 on the week. You know, it's up to 17 cents. I mean, a lot of people aren't happy with that. But that's another one, you know, a lot of my Algorand was bought, you know, probably in the 9 to 12 cents range. So, I mean, I'm up on it, just not as much as some other ones. Every time I do a portfolio video, someone says, where's Algorand? And I always explain, in the video that I keep Algorand separate because most of it is involved in DeFi. So it's not going to be on my bull run. I don't just buy and hold Algorand. I never have. The reason I like Algorand is because doing stuff in DeFi is so easy compared to like other chains I've tried. That's one of the main appeals of Algorand to me, is that you can do this stuff and it's so easy. So that's that. Just going through here. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, not much having like a stellar week except Say. And this was down, right? I mean, this was down on the year last we looked, right? Am I wrong about that? Yeah, it's down. If you bought it a year ago, you're way down. You know, if you think there's going to be a resurgence, Say might actually be a halfway decent buy. Seems to be one of those ones that bucks the market a little bit from what I've seen. Before we get into the Algorand stuff, I do like to look at some of the Algorand specific stuff, but you know, trending coins, yeah, Say is on there, Apt is on there. Something called Bananas, but it's going down. XRP going down a bit. XRP might be dropping. Well, it's always hard to say. I'm a little skeptical of the idea of news moving markets these days. It seems to like everything just sort of correlates. I mean, you know, just look at these charts. Oh, you can't see them. Hold on. Let me pull that over. You know, just look at these charts on the right here. I mean, so many of them just follow the same pattern with slight variations. You know, the market still correlates a lot. And I think that's important to keep in mind when we look at this stuff. And it makes sense, you know, we've been pretty flat and the fear and greed is kind of at neutral. So not really like, no one's really freaking out, but no one's all that excited. You know, coin market cap 100, sorry, around $200, about point down just a little bit. Total market cap also down a little bit. You guys ever think about that number? Almost $3.3 trillion for the entire crypto market. Like, that's a lot of money. It's amazing to me when people think like this is like a Beanie Baby fad and like no one's invested. I had so I went on I got drinks with like an ex-girlfriend who was in town. And I was talking about how I was making content about crypto, and she goes, "Oh, my boyfriend and I make fun of that." I'm like, "Really?" She goes like, she actually asked if you can turn it into real money. I'm like, yes, you can." You think anybody would be invested? You think banks would invest in this if they couldn't turn it into real money? Like, that's crazy. But this is the window into like the so-called normie world. They don't even understand this is real money. Or, you know, can be turned into like dollars or to fiat currency, basically. Although sometimes I kind of had the feeling this morning, I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here. I had the thought this morning, like, is money actually real? Like, isn't it? It seems weird, right? Especially after I quit my job and it just seems like, oh, I made this much money this week. Like, is that actually, it's just numbers on paper. All my stuff is just numbers on paper. It almost like seems unreal. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, I don't know that there's much, you know, still very Bitcoin dominant. And I read a newsletter from Anthony Pompliano saying that he thought Bitcoin's probably going to go to 150,000 this year yet, because it's generally following the M2 supply. By the way, I know I recently learned, I read a book on Milton Friedman, and one of the things I learned was the difference between M1 and M2. So M1 is like all the money supply minus savings, and then M2 adds in savings. So M1 only counts checking because it's like thinking about liquid money, so it doesn't count savings. M2 does count savings. Hopefully I'm remembering that right. I thought that was kind of interesting. And so Bitcoin, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. Since it has followed, if you look at it, if you look at the charts overlaid, it does follow that supply. In fact, maybe I can pull that up really quick. Anthony Pompliano newsletter. God, newsletter. I'm gonna click on the wrong thing. Here we go. We're gonna move on to the, yeah. Oops, that might be today's. Sorry, wrong one. I'm always like a day behind. Yeah, here it is. Here's M2 overlaid with Bitcoin. I mean, that is some crazy correlation. And it's always a lagging indicator, by the way. Yeah, 3 month, in fact, it says 3 month lead right here. You can see this right here. I mean, this is where it's going. So I think there's a good chance we're gonna see yeah, they have 0.15 million. That's an interesting way to think of 150,000, right? Yeah, I don't doubt that could be the case. I think that's what we're gonna see. As he says here, if Bitcoin continues to follow money supply growth, we could see 150,000 per coin before year end. That would be volatility. That would make Bitcoiners very happy, but no coiners have no one to blame but their government. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. Let's go off to let's go to Prestige. How are we looking on numbers wise? Good, 12. Uh-oh, sorry. Don't hold on. So the one, by the way, the one problem I need to solve. You know, the funny thing is I really like my video on the left, but it works so much better to have it on the right because it doesn't cover important stuff. When we switch over to like our news segments, we'll switch that back over. Oh, this is nice. In the last hour at least, Tiny's starting to go back up. I care primarily about Tiny because that's when I'm getting my daily rewards from USDC T-algo liquidity pools by DeFi there. That's so the higher this is, the more money I make on a daily basis on that. Nice to see Alpha doing well. By the way, okay, I'm gonna say it, like I really hate that they default to the weekly chart. They should default to the 4-hour chart. Yeah, popping back up nicely, and then let's go to the weekly is almost useless. Yeah, this is nice to see because I was actually kind of down a little bit on my alpha because I bought around here somewhere, so was not liking that. But I like this one. I like this one because you get rewards in USDC. Not as good as I had initially expected. So if you want to see my breakdown, you can check that out on my member channel page. Frugalnaut level 2's got that video. So you have to be a level 2 to get the exclusive videos. Let's see here. Anyway, yeah, like I said, nice to see that popping back up again. But look at that chart, man. That's crazy. I mean, you could draw a straight line through this. If you're going to draw a trend line, it'd be maybe ever so slightly up. You know what I'm saying? That would be like an appropriate trend line, ever so slightly up. But that's almost stablecoin territory. You know what I mean? There's not many ASA charts that look like that. Now, the other one that surprised me is chips. Now, we covered this, Algorand. Well, okay, so we're back to, on the daily, yeah, not so great. Just a complete drop. But if we look at the 4-hour, some people are actually moving this a little bit, which I think is really, really interesting. Hey, Snail is in the chat. Good to see you, Snail. Good to have you here, as always. Thank you for your moderation efforts last week. I appreciate that. I've got a new one called POW. Haven't heard of that. Yeah, otherwise, Munko had a really nice week, up 17%. Power the old Frugal BC ASA curve. Yeah, we'll take a look in a second here. Yeah, Munko kind of popping back up a little bit. What's he talking about, by the way, in case you're wondering? This is where the weekly actually is useful. This is my boot pattern. The ASA, the Frugal BC ASA curve. Well, it's the ASA boot pattern is what I call it. Here's like the leg of the boot, you know, the ankle or whatever, and then this is the little toe. So many ASAs do this, like unnatural in number. So, I mean, you can hope that you catch it around here, but this is what happens. The people who caught it around here, they're just going to sell it off, and the market cap's low enough that it just drops the price. That's my theory. I don't know that for 100% certain, but it fits the pattern anyway. We'll call it I don't know, would you call it a hypothesis or a theory? It hasn't really been tested. But like you can't really test, well, anyway. But at least in more recent times, you know, yeah, it's popped back up a little bit in the last week or so. So that's nice to see. The one thing about these charts is you can't really get like a nice weekly snapshot. If you go 4 hours, maybe if you do hourly, is that about a week? Yeah, pretty close. That's probably about a week. So the hourly chart, yeah, you can see we had a big move earlier in the week. What's that, Sunday, Monday? Interesting. Oops. Yeah, I don't like that the default page is the trading page. I want the default page to be, I want it to be the, this is the most valuable thing for me. Let's look at power. Hourly, let's go 4 hour, yeah. That's an interesting chart. It does follow the boot pattern, except it's kind of a curve up. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It's the PAC5 token, of course. Duh. Yeah, I feel a little dumb not remembering that. Of course, it's the PAC5 token. Thanks for the reminder, Cloudy Vibes. I appreciate that. Yeah, so typical ASA pattern, up, down. I'm always amazed when they don't do this, and I always wonder why. For example, oh, I did it again. Snail got a little handshake there. Yeah, I think there's always a lag between me on my end and then you guys getting it, because like a lot of times the reactions come in kind of late. If we look at Tiny, one of the reasons this one we do have to go probably at least daily. No, we got to go weekly. It was really, really holding in this 2.5 to 5 cents range, if not a little above it sometimes. And so I thought, well, that's, you know, if you got volatility within this range, that's pretty decent. Lately, though, been kind of trickling off. And that's a little bit concerning. And I know the rest of the market has been too, so we get it, right? And it was popping up when the rest of the market was popping up. So at least if it's following the market, at least that's something. That's something to bank on. But yeah, it makes me a little nervous when I'm actually earning in that coin. Which is why I usually prefer, I liked it when I could earn an algo. I miss the old DeFi rewards and Algorand governance. I won't lie. Like, just me personally, I don't think it's better for the ecosystem, just to be 100% clear. I think it is better. I think it was better for me personally. So, I mean, like, I'll give it up, you know, let's do right by the ecosystem. Yeah, the other one is Orange. Actually, Orange is doing okay. I'm going to have to check to see if I'm up on my Orange. Like, what do you even call this? Let's go So it went up, it had kind of this crash down, and now it's been kind of flattish. I mean, you can see we had, well, here, if you want to, what did we decide? The 2-hour chart was about a week? No, 1-hour chart, I think. Yeah, so you can see that's a heck of a week. Not bad. Fracas says GM, welcome Fracas. And by the way, we're gonna have a video out soon, a sponsored video for the new Fractal Monsters trading card game. It is really fun. It's a really fun game. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited for it to go live. It's going to be an open beta soon. I got access to the closed beta, and I'll tell you, it's a ton of fun. You guys are going to really enjoy it. If you like those type of games, if you like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone, it's a lot like Hearthstone, or it's a lot like Magic the Gathering Arena, but it's got that Fractal Monsters style. I'm excited because, you know what? I think it's great. You know, and I saw Gunny kind of crap on it a little bit, and I'm like, dude, you shut down your game. You don't get to dunk on anybody. Cloudy Vibe says, make sure to claim your airdrop. Which airdrop is that? Very cool. Well, everyone's I got a lot of devs in my chat. I usually don't have that many project leaders in my chat, and I got like 3 of them today. Very interesting. I'm not sure what that's all about. I'm happy to have you here though, of course. Still, the majority of viewers are on X, and I really wish they had monetization on X. That would make things that would really make a big deal. Gary plus Pow. Handshakes. I kind of wonder what's going on with Orange, though. Anything else we're talking about, or should we get into some news? Just a reminder, if you haven't already, please hit the like button on YouTube. Let's see where we're at. I'm going to take a quick... Actually, I'll leave this up. I'll just do a separate window. I just want to see where we're at. Got 17 people watching, and how many likes? 8 likes. So let's get up to at least 12 likes. How about? We can do that, right? Let's get those like buttons. Yeah, remember now, you don't have to actually smash it, by the way. You can just press it gently. It works just fine. But let's get those likes up so we can get this video out to more people. The likes really make a big difference. Oh, the POW airdrop. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I got to pick mine up. I talked about it in a video this week. I actually do qualify for some airdrops. Okay, so I'm about to start doing some news segments, and I'm going to handle them a little differently. I'm going to handle them kind of like how I used to handle them. I don't know how many people remember that from back in the day. So when I'm in the news segments, I'm not going to respond. I'm only going to respond to chats between news segments, because I want to be able to clip these for, YouTube videos. So what I'd really like, but if it's germane to what we're talking about, I'll still answer it during the segment. But if it's something outside of the news segment that we're talking about, like if I'm doing an HBAR segment and it's about Algorand, I'll wait until that's over to bring it up. Because I really want these to be a little more clippable and a little more YouTubeable. So if we have like extraneous stuff in there, it just doesn't look as good. So that's how we're going to do it, just so you guys know. And like I said, we got an Algorand segment today. We got an XRP segment, and we got a Hedera segment. And then also I'm going to react to a Hedera video, probably somewhere in between there, so I can give my voice a little bit of a rest. Yeah, just a reminder too, if you're on Kick, please leave us a comment. You know, we like to hear from you guys. Just let us know what your favorite coin is. You can put that in the chat, either on YouTube or on Kick, or, you know, we don't get many comments on X either, but X seems to grow pretty well, so that's fine. And always happy to hear from everybody wherever you are. You know, I should have mentioned probably Vestige too, because that's up almost 10% on the week. That's pretty good. I'm always a little nervous about platform tokens overall. You know, I probably sold my chips at a loss, but I didn't have very many chips, if I'm being honest. The thing is, if the platform goes away, the coin just goes to nothing. I mean, I had that happen with, anyone remember Algo Stake? Man, I had like, that was part of my DeFi experiment that I did a long time ago. And that taught me a very important lesson. You know, there's a pretty big risk with holding some of these ASAs that are tied to platforms. You know, you better have confidence in the platform, because if the platform shuts down, that coin's just going away. I noticed some people might have been trying to save chip, or maybe they were just, I don't know. There's some people were buying, obviously, because the price temporarily went up. Did I mention alpha is at like 10% up on the week too? That's crazy. Let's get this set up. I'm going to move my cam back over. And Snail says, yep, didn't use it, but remember, yeah. Well, what do you want to start? I think I'm going to start with Algorand first, actually. Get some interesting Algorand stuff. Diego Perez Galeano says, will Algorand hit $1? Man, I hope so. Right now, if it got up to 60 cents again, I'd be pretty happy. You know, who knows? $1. I mean, my bull run prediction had always been $2 to $3. I'm hoping. Snail says, yeah, but not for a few more months. I mean, I think the end of the year is going to be the real test. I agree with you, Snail. I think the end of the year is going to be the real test. If we get to 2026 and everything's still, all the alts are still dead, I don't know, man. I'm gonna kind of think maybe the cycles have changed. I can get some water too. Hold on a second here. You know, these lives are a lot of fun. I mean, they really kill my voice, but they're really fun. I really enjoy doing them, by the way. It's fun. You know, it's really fun to be able to chat with you guys. I think that's fun. Okay, so just as a reminder, I'm about to start the Algorand segment. And so chat will be minimal. If it's stuff related, I'll bring it up. If it's not related to what we're talking about, I'll address it in between segments. Okay. So just so we're all aware. And if anyone does super chats or gifted subs, I'll probably bring it up really briefly and then we can talk about it more deeply. Snail says July 4th would be telling if Bitcoin can crack 117K and hold on, we're in for a ride. Well, like I said, look, we're at 3 months. I would be watching 3 months for Bitcoin, you know, because maybe not even, you know, M2 is like really skyrocketed. So I think we're going to start seeing things in the next few months. The next few months, I think we're going to see Bitcoin take off. But okay, I'm starting my segment now, just so you know. This is where if I had an editor, I'd be telling them, yeah, take notes. This is what we're going to do. Okay, here we go. So recently, Justin Bonds posted a very positive seeming thread about Algorand. However, he definitely got a few things wrong, and we had a few disagreements on this. So why don't we dive in? Because I think this is illustrative of what some of these influencers, the way they manipulate data. They claim to be about data, but they actually manipulate data and use bad reasoning all the time. And let's dive into this one here, because this is going to start off our Algorand segment here. It seems good, right? Okay, so Justin Bonds, let's go through this. Algorand's tech is cutting edge, highly scalable with 10K TPS, 3-second finalization times, and stakeholder governance. Even better is that Algo is no longer permissioned, The recent P2P upgrade resolved the decentralized issues. Props for promising change and delivering. Anyone see any issues there? Anyone at all? Because I'll tell you what, let's go through them. I'm sure you guys know. You guys are going to see it. I know you're going to see it by the time I'm talking about this. First off, that is the theoretical maximum. However, it has been already increased. Okay? So this isn't even true anymore. We've had 15,000 TPS, which is 4 blocks. We've had actual blocks over this. 3-second finalization times. No, that's the block time. Finalization, as everyone on Algorand knows, is instant. So not 3 seconds. 2.8 seconds for block times. But not final. The good thing is it's final the moment you do it. Because of the way it's structured. Stakeholder governance, yes. And actually, he was wrong about this. P2P hasn't actually been implemented yet. So this is actually him being wrong in favor of Algorand. He does acknowledge this one, by the way, to be fair. Still plenty of room for improvements. Sub-second finalization is now cutting edge. It's instant. It's not, the 2.8 seconds is block time. It's not, the finalization, however, is instant. Transactions are final instantly when you do them. Let's see what else. And he says, yeah, there's no plans to scale Algo beyond the 10K. It's already been past 10K. And man, wait till you see his response to me. Okay, just wait till you see his response to me. It's always possible to increase block size. Moore's law alone might not be enough. Blah blah blah. Algo's current scaling, pure proof of stake. He talks about. I was expecting the P2P to slow down the network. Well, it hasn't happened yet. Seems to be saying positive stuff about on-chain governance. I didn't even get to this part when I was reading because I was so mad that he got so much wrong. It's critical to ensuring good decision-making and governance. Successfully implemented solid governance model. Okay, cool. To me, Bitcoin and ETH are both failed experiments due to their total lack of stakeholder governance. Yeah, I kind of agree, but I don't really care about governance on Bitcoin. I just think it works as a store of value, and it's a really simple mechanism, and it continues to be a simple mechanism. But I also, I'm not going to do DeFi on Bitcoin. I just don't have any interest in that. Algo is clearly designed with decentralization in mind. I agree. A feature of Sol, for example, Lex, it makes different trade-offs. Let's see, with only 25% of the total supply going to Algorand Inc. in the foundation, considering that most new blockchains sadly launch with pre-mines above 50% nowadays. So he's happy about that. Good. He's mostly saying positive stuff, you know. He's critiquing Algo for its supply cap. It says it's unsustainable, causing a future uncertainty around supply and security. I mean, that's isn't that what we normally think of with blockchain? It allows for an easier to understand, attractive economic narrative and not resolve its flaws. By the way, I know a lot of people talk about total supply being out and that theoretically making that more scarce and driving the price up. I just haven't seen it. I mean, look how Squeeze barely has a quarter of its supply out, maybe, and the price has been pumping. So it sounds right. It's one of those things that sounds right in theory, but if you look at the actual performance, it seems to the coins that have infinite supply still crush. It just doesn't make a difference. I wish it did. Without inflation, the chain would be secure. Under low economic activity, the chain remains secure due to tail inflation. Algo community has been wonderful with an exceptionally low degree of toxicity. I don't know. We've gone after him, man. We did not uncover any skeletons or major red flags around Algorand. That's good. Plenty to praise, etc. Let's see. Well, let's see. I addressed it, but so did he. Okay. FYI, 10K TPS is the official claim, but actually Algorand has exceeded 14K TPS on mainnet multiple times over the past few years without any issue. Glad you agree for the name for speed. I saw the instance of 14K TPS. However, I needed some chain analysis to figure out the transaction type. And that's the same thing he said to me. He's bringing up all these payments. Like, what transaction type would make it invalid? That's what I don't understand. They're real transactions. I don't know. What else do you want? What else do you want, Justin? Let me see if I can find my reaction to him. Hold on. Sorry, I'm going to look in my notifications for a second here. Yeah, here's his okay. Well, I posted this because here's his here's his correction on the P2P. He said, I made a mistake. I wrongly assumed that Algo's P2P upgrade was live by now. It is not live, which means Algo is still permissioned, centralized. Not really, but okay. By the way, this is the guy who said that SWI was decentralized because people voted to have transactions reversed or to block certain people from using it. That literally means it's permissioned. It's permissioned if people can say, yeah, you can't use this. It doesn't matter if they voted on it, okay? I stand by everything else. Algo is just not decentralized. Yeah, I think that's BS. But I said, you also got finality wrong, and the max TPS has been clocked at much more than 15K TPS. We discussed this more in the replies, but I will stand by both of those statements. I defined finality by the first block confirmation, so that is 2.8 seconds. That's fine if you want to like make your own definitions for things, but once a transaction is final and can't be reversed, that's final. It's a unique mechanism on Algorand that allows for instant finality. It's been one of its core features. So I don't think you get to turn around and just say like, oh, I don't agree with it. Without knowing the exact makeup of the transaction types in those blocks, we cannot conclude 10,000 TPS. Well, actually, yeah, you can, because the types don't matter. It's a transaction. It's a transaction, and they did more than 10,000 of them. So I had responded, oh, bonds, oh, okay, hold on. Actual blocks aren't as valuable as Justin's estimate. I see. I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And we went through and complained about this. As I said, I found a few of these. I just stick to the data types. Are happy to move the goalposts when it doesn't fit their narrative. He's not a serious person and should be ignored or mocked. There, I misspelled. I'll make fun of myself. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the problems with some of these people on. And I found this with Justin Bonds, with what's that? Oh God, what's that other guy's name? I made a whole takedown video of him. Oh shoot. I just can't think of his name right now. He did the same thing. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. These guys will like manipulate. They'll say they're all about the data, and then they use every data manipulation tactic in the book. You know, they'll cherry pick. They'll take out of context. You know, they'll make unfair standards between one chain and another. And I don't really know why. I don't know what that helps you. I don't know why they do that, but they do that. And it's pretty annoying if you ask me. Yeah, what do you think about Justin Bond's post? I mean, I will say it's more positive on Algorand than he's ever been. And I guess I appreciate that. You know, I think it's fair. And I don't even think someone, you know, if someone makes a negative post on Algorand, if they can justify it, I'm okay with that. Like, if I think there are criticisms to be had of Algorand, you know, price action is a pretty big one. It just hasn't had really good price action. The pump in November, December was pretty good, but the rest was, you know, it's been not as great as the other ones. We've compared them before. Even HBAR outperformed Algorand, and that wasn't one of the best performers either. So that's that one. I want to also talk about a couple other Algorand items here. For instance, this is from Alex. I'm going to zoom this out a little bit here so you guys can see this. AlexFrance.algo. Very good creator here, by the way. Just 4 days to go before the announcement of a major new interoperability partnership from the Algorand Foundation. Looks like Algo is about to get closer to EVM ecosystems and beyond like never before. They did talk about this. So I was actually aware of this. It's nice that this is coming soon. So I don't know if this is Chainlink. We don't know who this is. This might be Chainlink. It might be someone else. But someone asked, how do you know about this? You can find interesting info on the Luma page of the AlgoCan's side event happening during ETHCC, which is the community something. It's cut off there. Should probably know that. I know I've seen this. Community cans, is that what it is? AlgoCans. Anyway, yeah, so that's an interesting one. And I also want to point out that Algorand Casino will be open sourcing their code. So for those that missed it, Algorand Casino announced that it is closing down. I made a video about that earlier in the week, and now they're going to open source their code. As I'm sure most of you know, we announced that Algorand Casino will be closing its doors on Monday, June 30th. Rather than let our work disappear, we've decided to open source our entire blockchain native platform for the benefit of the Algorand ecosystem. And anyone interested in decentralized gaming development. What we're releasing, all code is released under the MIT license, completely permissive and only requires keeping the copyright notice. Here's what's now available: centralized API system, American roulette, decentralized lottery system, coin flip game, NFT buyback system, labs front-end application, some stuff they can't open source. The poker applications, because there's a third-party software, regulatory approval, traditional casino games, sportsbook platform, etc. You know, this is going to sound kind of funny, but I always thought it would be really cool to do XRP on Algorand. I don't know. I wouldn't know the first thing about how to like even start doing that, and I wouldn't really have the time anyway. But I always thought that would be really cool. And then, you know, the ASA for it could be gold press latinum, just like on Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek Deep Space Nine guy, so I think that would be super cool. But yeah, I like I said, I wouldn't have the first clue about how to even do it, let alone do it profitably. It'd have to be profitable. I think they said, if I remember right, they said it was like $600 a day to operate. Which, you know, that's a lot. I mean, it's not unusual in terms of like operating a business, but I tend to like businesses that have low costs so that everything you make is profits. I mean, that's what I've been doing on my newsletter. My YouTube doesn't really have much cost. I tend to like low cost businesses. But yeah, so I mean, that's great. If someone wants to pick up, I think this is a great way to handle it. You know, just open up the stuff, say, hey, we built all this. We can save you time. If you want to do this stuff too, you know, you can spend a little less time and a little less money on development by just taking some of these things. And yeah, I think that's a really great idea. All right, one last thing, we're going to talk about Algorand governance. So the Algorand Foundation put this out, and I think it surprised people because I guess a lot of people thought governance was just gone. Now, when I had Adri from the foundation on my channel, we talked about, you know, the future of governance. Like, it's not gone. And they talked about this all along, that governance would continue, it just wouldn't be funded. Official announcement for Ready Pooling users about Governance Period 15. As we prepare to launch Governance 15 next week, we wanted to address the fact that Ready Pooling smart contracts does not provide a way to integrate with governance. We understand that ready pooling was built with an emphasis on minimizing risk for the users. For that reason, the underlying smart contract account is not able to create and send the zero algo transaction with the note field required to manually commit algo and vote in governance. Algorand governance protocol requires off-chain reading of the transaction history in a standard message format signed by accounts declaring their commitment to gain voting power. Our technical team has thoroughly explored the possibility of integrating ready pooling into this process. However, the participation of application accounts controlled by smart contracts with commitments shared among multiple users raises complex challenges, particularly with respect to the trust model. To ensure the integrity of the process, it would be necessary to define a general, verifiable, protocol-independent relationship between the application account. Oh my gosh. Blah, 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 blah. Here, this is really nice. Emily Conway said TLDR. Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Ready pooling won't support governance period 15 because it can't currently integrate with Algorand governance. Users wanting to participate should use liquid staking tokens or compatible DeFi pools instead. Update in the works to ensure future periods are eligible but not possible for this coming period. Thank you, Emily. Although it is nice to get the, the one thing I think was interesting is like the why of it. And the why is that it isn't able to use the zero algo transaction with the note field, which is necessary. So that's why. That's the one thing I would say is probably missing from her write-up. I would have just put because they can't send a zero cost transaction or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, good. Thank you, Emily. Really good TLDR on that. So basically, yeah, you're going to be using liquid staking, but I don't think people are going to care that much unless you really, really wanted to vote. In fact, let me see. Okay, hold on. Let's see if they have anything on the main site here. They just say it'll be announced soon. Well, here's 15. There will be actually be 22 measures according to this. It's a much shorter period. It's a much shorter period, so there's interesting. It says zero algo equivalent LPs, but I assume my liquid staking would actually count. I'll be honest though, I was never a fan of governance. I did like the governance rewards, but I was never a big fan of governance. I found it pretty irritating because, yeah. So because like if you use the DeFi portion, like you really had to just leave your DeFi alone. You couldn't like take profits or reinvest or anything like that. And I found that very irritating. Like I was adding to it, I wasn't subtracting, but even then it would kick me out of governance. So I just usually didn't bother. But the rewards went into the DeFi rewards. And so you took advantage that way. It was a lot better. But yeah, 22, did they tell you about it? Because a lot of it's going to be around the XGov, I think, right? Yeah. Oh, it's the XGov council election. So this is what you're going to be voting on. It basically you're going to be voting yes or no on all these different people. Simon is involved with Cosmic Champs. The Cosmic Champs co-founder. And they give you a nice little breakdown of who's involved. Michael Chung has been running a node since 2022. Worked as an Android developer on the Para wallet team. I want to point out there's a couple of people. Yeah, John Mazzoni, Non-Fungible Domains, friend of the channel, is one of the people. And there's a lot of Ludo from Everyday Algonaut sometimes in the chat. I don't know if he's watching today. Ludo's been on here before. I thought that was all the ones I wanted to point out. Well, there's more people than I thought. Yeah, we got a Japanese person too. That's cool. Anyway, so that is that. But in case you were wondering, that's what's going on. I don't believe there's any rewards because all the rewards switched over to nodes. So unless I'm wrong about that, I have not seen anywhere that says that there's going to be rewards on for Algorand governance. Now, the XGov people will be getting like a stipend, but that's not really the same thing. That's not like a participation award. So that is that. Whew. That's our Algorand segment for today. Hope you enjoyed that. Hey, by the way, you guys can keep chatting. I'll just be a little late in getting to them is all. Okay. I think we're going to do some reaction. I'm going to do a Hedera reaction next. We got a lot to get through today. We might have a long stream. I'll tell you what, those streamers that go for like 5, 6, 7 hours, I don't know how they do it. I know they react to a lot of videos. I think that helps, but you're still talking through those. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It's very impressive. But maybe if you just do it every day, you start building up your voice, I think maybe. Yeah, let me just take a little check here and see where we're at on the building up your voice. Up to 9 likes. If you haven't hit the like button already, I'd really love it if you guys did so. So I want to get it up to, by the time the stream's over, I want to get it up to 15 to 20. So let's get if you haven't hit the like button, it's one press. That's all it takes. Appreciate that, guys. Let's see. Let me find my bookmarks. What did I do with that? Oh, I didn't bookmark it. There we go. No, I did. I just hit bookmark. It didn't show up in my bookmarks. All right, here it is. Let me pull it up.
What you're seeing on your screen right now is Hedera on the...
Oh, I hate when I pause it and it plays anyway. That's so annoying. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I wanted to react to this video. What I like to do for some of these is I like to look at what is the top video right now. And what I do is I pull up an incognito window so it doesn't have any of my metadata. And I just pull up what's the top video for Algorand? What's the top video for XRP? Today, it's going to be the top video for Hedera. So we're going to react to this. It's a price prediction video called Hedera HBAR price prediction. I like to see what people say on these things. I'm always very skeptical of price predictions. Unless you can show me really good correlation data that's really worked well in the past. I don't know. I'm very skeptical of the technical analysis. We got the green triangle over here. I just don't buy it. But I do like to see what people say and what they're thinking. I did one that was like 4 years old on XRP that said XRP was going to 10,000. And the reasoning was like insane. I couldn't believe. I mean, first off, obviously it was wrong. XRP never came to 10,000. But they were saying like, oh, this could be used for cross-border payments. Yeah, so can a lot of other coins. Like you didn't present a vision for why this coin would be used over all the other ones. The fact is it's probably going to be a mix. It was the same for like a lot of use cases. They acted like it was the only one. Crazy. Yeah, anyway, so let's react to this video because I think this is pretty interesting. And it's a pretty short one. I like to make them a little fast so they don't, because I get bored watching them on regular speed. Okay, here's the video. Oops, I gotta make an adjustment here. I should definitely set up extra scenes. Okay, yeah, let's watch, let's see what he has to say. I'm gonna put my headphones on. Okay, here we go.
What you're seeing on your screen right now is Hedera on the daily chart. And the last time prices were this low, we had a rally of 33%, followed by another rally of 17%. Will Hedera do the same now, as it is currently teetering on 14.3 cents? Today's video, we're going to focus solely on price action, throw a little bit of price prediction in there. And what do we think Hedera is going to do? The altcoin market, the season has been a little weird this time, very segregated in what moves and what doesn't move.
Yeah, he's not wrong. It's been a crazy alt season. Like, you know, in fact, I think that's why so many people are disappointed, is because it's been such a crazy alt season that has not done what they have in the past. And you've had individual coins kind of popping off at different times, but you haven't had just like the, for people who haven't been, if this is your first cycle, you can't appreciate how it was for these other ones. Snail says, thanks for everything. Appreciate that. You can't understand what it was like back then, because it would just, I mean, the coins would just pop off. It was like every day, it's like, whoa, now it's worth this much. Whoa, now it's worth this much. I mean, that's the feeling that we had in previous bull runs. So if you want to know why, like, a lot of crypto OGs are like, what the heck? This is not how this works. That's why. So no, he's totally right.
Hedera going to be one of the lucky few that's going to see a huge altcoin season, while a majority of other alts are going to wither away into the abyss. We're going to talk about that in this video. Make sure to like the video, and let's jump in. Sub to the channel too. We do a lot of Hedera content on this channel. Take a look here. I wanted to show, you know, there's one thing with hype. There's another thing with utility. With Hedera, utility should be their middle name. Hedera utility hashgraph. As per token terminal, by the way, if anyone ever used that, I better get some credit. As per token terminal, Hedera has the third largest core developer pool in all of Web3.
Yeah, we actually covered this earlier in the week in our Hedera video, so you can go back and watch that. Pretty cool. Although you look, it's definitely fluctuated. So you could see for a lot of that time, Internet Computer Protocol and Chainlink were actually a bit higher than Hedera throughout a lot of that. But this last, if you look at the very last clip, Hedera is like slightly higher, but still pretty good for, you know, for Hedera. I mean, that's what you want to see. I don't know, if I don't see Algorand on that chart. I'm not sure where it would actually be, but yeah, pretty interesting.
Tested only by Ethereum and MetaMask. Others in the group include Chainlink and Internet Computer, all solid projects. And so why do people continue to build on Hedera? Ask yourself that question, and then try to forecast that out a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now. If your time horizon is long enough, and Hedera should be one of the top projects in our space. So I mentioned the chart. Let's get back to it. This is Hedera on the daily. Now, we have been in this falling channel. We had this inverse head and shoulders here. We had that breakout. We had a little bit of follow through, put in some higher highs. And then we broke that trend, and we've been in a solid downtrend. And in fact, I was looking at the 200-day moving average here on HBAR. We're pretty far away from our 200 MA on the daily time frame. From current price to lower band is 46%. Current price to upper band is around 59%. Now, what is the importance of a 200-day moving average? And maybe if you're new to technical analysis, this is, I don't want to say the one indicator, but a very important indicator that tells us, is the structure of the chart bullish, or is the structure of the chart bearish? Is the trend bullish? Is the trend bearish? Now, you can look at micro, but on the macro, the daily 200 MA is extremely important to be trading above if you want to be considered in a bull trend, or essentially really a bull market. So Hedera's got 46% to make up for before we break back into that 200-day MA. Just to show you the importance of the 200-day moving average, we zoom all the way back to June of 2024, where we broke below, and HBAR spent 160 days. So a little less than half a year, Hedera spent trading under its 200-day moving average.
By the way, I brought this up earlier. I mentioned that November-December pump, and that's exactly what he's pointing to. Prior to that, well below the 200 AMA. And then November-December, not only Hedera, but XRP and Algo also had big pumps. So we saw like a utility coin spike in that, which was pretty cool. You know, that's where we saw it before. So it's probably likely. I think they tend to move together. I think we'll see, if we see a pump again, I think we'll see XRP and Hedera and Algorand probably move right around the same time in the same direction. I think that's probably a pretty safe bet.
And then look at what price action did. We had an initial bump, failed. We had a breakthrough, never got the retest, came all the way down to 8.4 cents from a breakout of around 7.2 cents. And then look at what Hedera's price did after it cleared its 200-day moving average. from the exact point of the breakout to the top of the wick, it rallied 442%. Now, we're in a similar situation. We had a breakdown. We've been trending sideways. Now, the one thing I do want to do that I haven't done yet is measure the length of time we've been under this 200-day moving average, and we're right at 90 days. So relative to the last time this happened, we're about halfway through what we saw last time. So does this mean we're going to see another 60 to 70 days of downward or chop price action? No. Now is different from when it was back in June of 2024. But nonetheless, once we reclaim this 200-day moving average, look for HBAR to see an absolutely massive rally. The bottom end, our lower band is 21.09 cents. Our upper band currently is 23 cents. Now, this is dynamic, so we'll change. Right now, it's shaped to the downside. It will eventually shape to the upside. Either way, we'll keep our eye on this. But with HBAR, what I mentioned, the last two times prices was here, a rally. Let's take a look here. And what I'm talking about is this level right here, which is around 13.29 cents. So we're not too far off. We're at 14.3 cents. The last time, the big time here, which we put in that head on the inverse head and shoulders, this is back on April 7th. Hedera rallied. I'm not even going to take the entire rally. Hedera rallied around 50% on its second leg up after it saw a minor retracement. If we take that second leg out, it still rallied 35%. And the second time was literally like Sunday, a few days ago, 5 days ago. What did Hedera do? It bottomed out at around that 13.6 cent level on a close, and then it eventually rallied 17% in a massive V-shaped recovery. Just to show you the importance of this level, look at this candle that encapsulated 1, 2, 3, 4, damn near 5 consecutive candles prior to this candle. You want to talk about a V-shaped recovery? That's what a V-shaped recovery is. And that is what we're looking at with HBAR's price action now. Now, if you're looking for a long or a short, I would wait, set an alert at 13.298 cents. Once we hit that number, in fact, if you're confident that nothing crazy is going to go on globally, which who knows, anything can happen, go ahead and set a limit order in at call it 13.3, because we always go a little bit above just in case we almost wick but don't quite get there. And this should be another big V-shaped recovery. Will it be 33%? Will it be 15%, 5%? I don't know. Either way, we expect a big bounce from Hedera at these key levels. Now, to answer my own question I posed in the very beginning of this video.
Well, hold on. What I want to talk about is when I just, you're down. If you think the bull run's going to happen again, if you think we still got another bull run happening, then why wouldn't you just put it along? Why wait? Yeah, you can maybe make a few other cents, or you might miss it. And also, like, this is where technical analysis, like, where's he getting this line from? Just because it's the bottom here? Why couldn't I have drawn a bottom here or here earlier on and say, oh, well, wow, we hit this level, or why wouldn't it be here? I don't know. Some of these, I always find, this is my problem with technical analysis. I always find it so, like, just so, like, it always just seems very squishy to me. And what I see too is, like, they all tend to kind of pump and dump at the same time, with some exceptions. There's always a few that are kind of counter positioned. Like, Say is a good example. Unised Leo is a good one that tends to buck the market. It tends to go up when the market's going down and vice versa. So I guess I'm always a little skeptical of this. I like to just look at the macro trends. And we look at the macro trend. If you believe that we're still going to have the second leg of an alt season, which we typically get in overall bull runs, then you should be set up for it. But I think the gains were made, when he was talking about that 400% pump, like I was telling you guys earlier, I'm up 4x on my HBAR. So if you look at the macro trend and you buy your alts when everybody is like, wow, crypto sucks. When you see sentiment at its lowest, that's usually a pretty good time to buy. And that's been a pretty good indicator for me. And it's simple. It doesn't, there's no fancy drawings on charts to do, but it's always worked for me. It's worked for me for 3 cycles now. Not as well this cycle as it has in the past, but it's worked. And my portfolio is in the positive. It's not as in the positive as it was 6 months ago, but it's in the positive for sure.
What can we expect from Hedera? This altcoin season hasn't been like really any altcoin season we've seen. It feels like little spurts and sputters. It's like you turn the car on, it sounds great, it starts to go, and then everything stops. And then the next go around, maybe instead of 6 cylinders firing, only 5 cylinders fire. And so the idea here is not every altcoin is rallying. And you might be wondering, well, Hedera hasn't really moved a lot. It's been in a downtrend for a while. Is Hedera going to make it? I'm here to tell you unequivocally, absolutely, 100%, without a doubt, yes. Yes. You can look at a project like Hedera, the dApps that are building on it, the builders that are building on it, the governing council, the team, and everyone, and say, these guys are probably going to wither away and falter. Absolutely not. Hedera's got a lot going for it. People don't mention the stablecoin narrative, RWA narrative. We know institutions, and DeFi is coming as well. So these are, I'm not saying DeFi is not here, but it's going to continue to grow on the institutional side. You got to ask yourself this question.
Okay, so I agree and disagree with him on this. And what do I mean? I agree that a lot of these strong fundamentals that especially like Hedera and Algorand have, where they're just being used by institutions, they have a ton of enterprise clients, and they're kind of doing the so-called right, quote unquote, right thing in crypto. I think that does speak to their long-term viability, and that they'll be around for a while because they're providing value to beyond just nice price pumps. But that doesn't, what we've seen is that hasn't necessarily translated to price action. And Algorand and Hedera have had some of the worst in the top 100. Hedera's done a little better than Algorand, but both of them, I tracked them. Every once in a while I track, performance over the last year, and it's not been great for Algorand. It's been better for Hedera, but honestly not that great compared to, say, Bitcoin. And you see projects that have like really terrible fundamentals like Solana, and they do really well. They do. Sui too. I've been really critical of Sui lately. Doesn't mean I'm going to sell it because I still think it's going to pump. Prices tend to be correlated with hype more than actual fundamental value. I hope there comes a time when that changes, but that's not the case right now. Maybe as more institutions start working their way into altcoins, we'll see more value put on coins that have like real institutional use, that have real enterprise clients, etc. But that hasn't really been the case right now. I do think he's right about longevity though, because if you have like real customers, that means you'll probably be around for a while. It's kind of like GameStop. GameStop didn't really have, it was like failing as a company, but people were able to hype up its stock, and the stock went through the roof. It didn't reflect the underlying value of the actual company. Now in stocks, it tends to be a little more correlated with fundamental value, and those are kind of like outliers, but like that's how the crypto market works across the board. So I'm skeptical of this idea, but I do think it's I do think it's good that, let me say how I'm going to say this. I think he's right in terms of longevity, and that's pretty important. So, all right, let's watch the rest of this.
We talk about institutions are in front of this market cycle. Well, what blockchain, outside of maybe Chainlink, because they work with Swift and DTCC and all the banks, what other blockchain or layer one or crypto project has as many ties and partnerships and relationships with institutions than HBAR? I dare you, let me know in the comments section. So with that being said, I don't think Hedera is going anywhere. If you're a bag holder of Hedera, you should feel very confident. Don't look at extremely short-term price positions. This should be going to $1 plus by the end of the year as alts alts start to rally in their native pods. And Hedera will be in one of those pods, and in fact, could be in multiple pods. And so we expect a lot of big things from Hedera. We know you do too. Drop a like in the video and let us know, what are your price predictions for Hedera for the end of the year? I'm throwing $1 out there. It's a really, really nice round number, and I do honestly believe that HBAR could more than 5x from here. Excuse me, that would be a 6 to 7x from here and get to that dollar mark by the end of the year. Let us know in the comment section. Also, check out our live show Monday through Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till the next one. Peace.
Well, what do you think about that, guys? I think he calling $1. Wow. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I just generally don't like to make price predictions like that. But I do think I think he's right. I think he's right when he thinks about long-term value, and I think he's right about his pods. Like I said, we saw the utility coin pod kind of pump not too long ago, where you had HBAR, XRP, and Algorand all kind of moving at the same time, and really having a nice little pump in late November, early December. That was really nice. So I agree with that. So if HBAR gets to $1, that should theoretically mean that Algorand will get even higher, because Algorand has tended to just be a little bit higher in price in general. Percentage wise, it hasn't necessarily pumped more than HBAR, but remember there's 50 billion HBAR tokens and only 10 billion Algorand tokens. That's why Hedera is higher up in market cap, because there's just more tokens, and it's been pretty close. As I'm recording this, Algorand's around 17 cents and HBAR is around 14 cents. So, market cap is just math. It's just multiplication, by the way. I think people sometimes make too much of market cap. Snail with grocery says 5% on Monko alone during the stream. Having a strategy is key. Technical analysis should only help, not to be solely relied on. As long as it has a chart and action, someone could be successful. Just my 2 cents. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine for describing. I just don't know that it has the prediction power that people pretend it does. And I do think sometimes people make these like kind of just so arguments that like don't really mean much. The one reliable indicator that I've seen work, if you're looking for like short-term pumps, are low RSI, like below 30 especially, and then when the chart is at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. But that's not really that surprising, because it just means like, well, a lot of these like trading bots, in fact, I'm going to be testing one out soon. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. A lot of these trading bots, they just buy on dips, basically. Snail says, can't stop, won't stop, GameStop. That was a fun phenomenon. That's where stocks started behaving like meme coins, and a whole lot of institutions got weeded out there. So anyway, this is Sin City Crypto, and I'm going to give it a like here, and I always put the link in the chat. So here's the link to the video. It's going to come through the restream thing. Yeah, give it a like, give it some love, give it a watch. I think it's all cool. Snail says, I sent you a few Monko. Let's see what it does. Hey, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. Yeah, I have some Monko. I wonder what it's worth right now. I'm going to look. Oh, I don't have mine. Okay, hold on. I think I can. Yeah, I'm just going to pull it up off screen. I took a few profits in Monko a while back. I won't lie, but I got some more. Let me see. We will be getting to more. Wait, hold on. I want to see. Because I'm opted in, so it should come right. Oh yeah, there's the Monko. Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, I sold all my chips yesterday. Let's go. I think we're gonna do the XRP stuff next. That way we're not doing back-to-back. TP on Gary as well if you feel it's necessary. What do you mean TP? You know what, Garrett? You've been really generous. I'm going to take a little break, and we're going to give Gary some love. And look at Gary pumping a little bit. That's a pretty nice chart, Gary. Take Pro feet. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. This is the Gary chart, and having a nice little moment here, and overall, that's pretty good. That's 1 hour. There's 4 hour. A lot of volatility, but you know, volatility is not a bad thing as long as it's not way down or something. Daily chart still about the same. How's the weekly? You actually you had a sort of a weird boot, huh? That's a weird boot pattern. Not bad. Oh, take profit. Take profit. Yes. Profit. Oh, man. Man, you can't be messing with me. Take profit. I like it. Yeah, no, that's fun. Be like, yeah, cool. Coolio, bro. Yeah, like I said, that's a nice little chart. Not bad, especially on that 2 hour, looking real nice. So that's Gary. Gary's always in the chat. He's actually a moderator. I made a couple people moderator. I made you, and who else did I make? I can't remember. I know you were one of my moderators. Diamond Hands got in the project in November. Cool. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to give him a little shout out. So I'm going to be starting the XRP segment. Give me a second. I'm going to refill my water. I will be right back. What up, Feely? I just saw you in the chat. I had to say hi real quick. I'm just going to take a short little break and I will be right back. Promise. Okay, I'm back. Thanks for giving me a second. Just wanted to use the bathroom and give my voice a little break. We are going to do We are going to do the XRP segment next. So, like I said, yeah, nice to have Philly here. Very cool. And Snail with us as always. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Hope everyone's doing great. Actually, I don't really need the headphones on. So just a reminder, as I go through the segments, I tend to so I'm not going to be able to pay as much attention to the chat. I like, just because I tend to clip these. I want to clip these for YouTube, but if they're relevant to, so like we're doing the Ripple segment, if it's relevant to what we're talking about, I may or may not bring it up on stream. I will bring them up in between the segments. So yeah, let's start this Ripple one, because a lot of you probably thought that the Ripple lawsuit, the XRP lawsuit, was all settled. Well, there's another twist in the case. It just never ends. Just when you think everything is settled and fine and we can all move on, yet another little twist. So let's take a look at this here. And this is from the block. None of this has changed. New York judge denies request from SEC and Ripple to lift injunction. Let's see. Let's go to the full story. A New York judge has denied a request from Ripple and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to lift an injunction, which could have ultimately significantly cut fines previously brought by the agency in the Biden administration. An order filed on Thursday in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. Judge, it's always New York. It's always New York. Geez. Judge Annalisa Torres alluded to the SEC's previous stance, the previous one, not the current one, the previous one, against Ripple, involving claims that Ripple would likely continue to violate the law in pressing for an injunction. None of this has changed, and the parties hardly pretend that it has. Nonetheless, they now claim that it is in the public interest to cut the civil penalty by 60% and vacate the permanent injunction entered less than a year ago. The SEC and Ripple have been asking Judge Torres to allow their joint motion and issue a ruling that the court dissolve the injunction against Ripple, allowing $50 million of the $75 million in fines to go to the SEC, with the remaining $25 million to be distributed to Ripple. They're both asking this, by the way, in a joint motion. They're both asking for the same thing. That's settled. The dispute between Ripple and the SEC has been going on for years. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Has been going on for years as both parties look to bring an end to the case. In 2020, the SEC accused Ripple of raising $1.3 billion through the sale of XRP, which it said was an unregistered security. Over a year ago, Judge Torres ruled that some of Ripple's sales, called programmatic, did not violate security laws because a bind bid process in place for them. She did, however, rule that other direct sales of the token to institutional investors were securities. So interesting distinction there. That second part regarding institutional investors meant that Ripple would be fined $125 million. Later in March, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse said his company's legal battle with the SEC had effectively ended, and the SEC dropped its appeal. The latest in the case has been focused on the $125 million fine. So again, this stuff just doesn't end. It just doesn't end. In a previous court document, both parties cited the SEC's sweeping changes in how it views cryptocurrency. Since the former SEC chair, Gary Gensler, left office in January, yay, we're all happy about that. As the Trump administration rolled in, the agency has dropped several investigations and charges against large crypto firms. The agency has rolled out a crypto task force, which has held several roundtables as it works to create a regulatory framework. I don't know how you can have lawsuits when you haven't set the actual rules. And this was the chief strategy. This was the chief strategy of the SEC during the Biden administration, was like, yeah, we'll just leave the rules murky and then just decide we decide you've broke the law when we feel like it. I mean, it's really what they did. You know, that is actually what they did. Snail says, bye, Gary. Yeah, that's the bad Gary. That's not the good Gary. It's the bad Gary. We got rid of the bad Gary. Now we got the good Gary. The SEC can decide to change course following an enforcement action, Judge Torres said on Thursday. But the parties do not have the authority to agree not to be bound by the court's final judgment that a party violated an act of Congress in such a manner that a permanent injunction and a civil penalty were necessary to prevent the party from violating the law again. For that, the parties must show exceptional circumstances that outweigh the public interest or the administration of justice. I've not come close to doing so here. But isn't the SEC the protector of the public interest? Like, isn't that their goal? So if they're saying, hey, this isn't necessary anymore, why doesn't that have any weight? I think this is pure judicial activism, if you ask me. Judge Torres said also Ripple and the SEC should withdraw their appeals or take an appeal. Wait, what? I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. Either withdraw it or don't withdraw it. Like isn't that all the options? Okay. SEC declined to comment. Ripple Chief Legal Officer Stuart Eldorati said the ball is back in our court. The court gave us two options: dismiss our appeal challenging the finding on historic institutional sales or press forward with the appeal. Stay tuned. Either way, XRP's legal status is not a security, remains unchanged. In the meantime, it's business as usual. So, yeah, that's what's going on in the XRP case. And you think it's over, but then there's all this other BS going on. Meanwhile, we still don't have settled rules. We're still waiting for that. And that's going to be a big deal in terms of XRP. But that's not the only XRP we have. Ripple expands XRPL interoperability with wormhole integration. So Ripple is expanding XRP Ledger's multi-chain interoperability by integrating with Wormhole, the company said on Thursday, also courtesy of the block. I like this. I like this site, by the way. I think it works really well. Wormhole is one of the leading cross-chain interoperability protocols, is integrating with both the XRP Ledger mainnet and the EVM sidechain. Ripple said in a statement, this integration will enable cross-chain messaging, asset transfers, and multi-chain instances of tokens. The integration folds into Ripple's broader strategy to position XRPL, as an integration component of the blockchain institutional finance, which is like their main thing. You know, this is what XRP was designed for. They're trying to go after institutional finance, you know, the banking sector, basically. That's why they're on the board of ISO 20022. Because people, you know, I've gone in my rant about ISO 20022 and how it's misrepresented as like this compliance thing. But they're on the board. People say, well, why are they on the board? Because they're interested in the banking sector, of course. Like, of course they're going to be on that board. Why wouldn't they? That's their main thing. You know, you want to be in the room where the people you're going to sell to are. This integration folds into Ripple's broader strategy to position XRPL as an integral component of on-chain institutional finance. Massive financial institutions with interests in digital assets, firms like BlackRock, Securitize, and Apollo, all use Wormhole's service. If you want real mass adoption, interoperability is essential. The infrastructure has to be there, not just on one chain, but across them. And did we talk about the interoperability partner? Yeah, we did, for Algorand. I mean, that's why this stuff matters. That comes from this Ripple CTO and co-creator of XRPL, David Schwartz. In his statement, he says, with this integration, tokens natively issued on XRP Ledger are being set up for that reality by being able to move between blockchain networks while maintaining native issuance and control. It's going to be really, really important going forward. So yeah, good for XRP, for Ripple, for XRPL. Like I said, we're going to see that with Algorand coming soon. They got an interoperability partner announcement coming very, very soon. 4 days last I saw. It might be a little sooner. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, big deal for Ripple. Did I have anyone else? I think that was my only Ripple news. Don't think I saved any more. Yeah, that's it. But also too, apparently thousands of crypto investors got IRS warning letters. Speaking of government institutions, there's been a huge spike in IRS warning letters sent to crypto investors over the past few weeks, according to CoinLedger CEO David Kemmerer. And I will tell you, I went and checked my mailbox. I just wanted to be sure. I don't know what kind of people they're talking about, but I saw this, and like before the show, I went, because let's be honest, that would have been crazy good content, even though it would have freaked me out if I got one of these letters. It could be the start of a broader enforcement wave with new 1099 DA regulations coming into force next year. Now, this is pretty interesting. Over the past 60 days, crypto tax software platform CoinLedger has witnessed a 758% increase in U.S. users receiving Internal Revenue Service letters, with accounting firms like taxing cryptocurrency confirming the same trend. CoinLedger CEO David Kemmerer told The Block. Although President Trump has expressed interest in eliminating taxes on U.S.-based cryptocurrencies, yeah, when is that coming, by the way? I'm still waiting for that. I haven't heard it yet, you know. I'm waiting for that. Anyway, no related legislation has been introduced in Congress, he said via email. Yeah, well, I mean, their task force hasn't completed yet, because we don't even have the rules yet. We need the rules first, and then they're probably going to do this after, would be my guess. I don't see why they would, because they're not going to do a tax thing before they've even set up like the regulatory framework. Like that's going to come first for sure. Anyway, meanwhile, many investors still mistakenly believe they don't need to report crypto on their taxes, and IRS letters like this one are causing a lot of anxiety, he added. It could be the start of a broader enforcement wave, especially with the new 1099 DA regulations set to kick in next year. Starting on the 1st of January, crypto brokers must report both gross proceeds and cost basis of digital asset sales on Form 1099 DA, meaning the IRS will automatically receive detailed gain-loss data for users, reducing underreporting and significantly increasing compliance for oversight for crypto holders. However, in April, Trump signed a resolution to repeal a controversial IRS rule finalized under Joe Biden that specifically would have also included DeFi platforms in the definition of brokers. Good. You know, I'm happy to, I'll always report my Coinbase stuff. But I'm not reporting my Algorand stuff. Like, forget that. I didn't say that. You didn't hear that. In case the IRS is watching. No, I just use that. I use Coinbase as my clearinghouse. So if I take profits, it comes to Coinbase and then I report that. I don't think it's probably correct, but I don't think they're going to go after me. I just don't. Yeah, so I'd really love that rule, if that rule would get put in place, that no taxes, but I'm glad he like repealed this. I'm glad he repealed this this DeFi rule. Good for Trump. Trump's been pretty good for crypto overall, I gotta say. You know, not getting into any like politics, just saying like for crypto, been much, much better than under Biden. They were just basically sending all these cryptocurrency organizations overseas, and the result is like, well, you get Sam Bankman-Fried. Like if he had been in operating in the US, he would have had to follow our frameworks, and he would have been under better SEC scrutiny. Instead, he operated in the Bahamas because they basically made the business illegal in the US, and then he can get after people a lot easier. It's just a lot easier to like break the law if you're not in the US and operating under US law. So, you know, pick your poison. You want things to be safe? Well, you have to do them in a safe way. Anyway, yeah, that's all I really had to say. I'm just going to add that it's not necessarily Ripple, but it's kind of like government enforcement related, so I thought I'd include that. And yeah, that's our Ripple segment for today. Like I said, I'm like up 4x on Ripple on XRP, so I'm not complaining about it. Even, I mean, right now I'm up 4x. I was actually up quite a bit higher, like 5x, 6x almost earlier. So yeah. I'm really going long today. It's good. Oh boy. How's everyone doing out there? I heard, I'm going to take a little break because I heard heard Monko is having a day. Oops, did I hit orange instead? I hate when websites jump around and you're like meaning to click on one thing and then you click on another. But orange is really up. Oh yeah, look at that little spike just from just while the live stream. I talk about Monko and Monko goes up. Apparently. Probably not. I'm joking, guys. I'm just making, because then everything I talked about would go up, and that hasn't been the case. But actually, we're seeing everything kind of going up. Algorand going up now a little bit. Tiny going back up a little bit. That's nice to see. Look at that chart. This was all red. Remember, this was all red when we started the stream. Now it's all green. By the way, is there an HBAR one like this? Does anyone know? Snail knows what I'm talking about. Snail knows what I'm talking about. I wonder if there's an HBAR version of this, because I would love to like track more of the HBAR ASAs. I got some sauce, and you know, for a while I was like really up on my sauce. I was saucing it up. Look at Alpha Arcade too. Starting to pop back up again. This is 2 hours, so interesting. But it's just crazy. This was all red. This is almost all red. Just when we covered it like an hour ago on the stream. That's something, man. Except for Opulus, and I'm okay with that. Snail says I haven't looked. I'm not sure how deep the HBAR D5 memes run. I know there's quite a few of them. And Sauce like really took off. Like it's Sauce, which is from the Saucer Swap protocol. I did not like DeFi on Saucer Swap. The version 2 pool, if it gets out of a certain range, it just shuts down. If the price goes outside of a certain range, it just shuts down. That was like the HBAR USDC pool. And that was back when HBAR was like 33 cents. So obviously I haven't gotten back to that yet. Oh, there's a new one called Angry Apple. And look at chips, 15%. That's ridiculous. Guys, what are you doing? What are you doing? The project's over. I think someone's just trying to get a halfway decent exit is what I think is going on there. Yeah, power was down. It's kind of back up. Power, that's the PaxFi token. Thanks for someone for reminding me of that earlier. I think Cloudy Vibes did. Was that Cloudy Vibes? I forgot. I totally forgot that POW was the PaxFi token. But and look at Orange. Orangey, glad you bought. Holy crap! Look at that orange. You seeing this? Good grief. Okay, now I got. Hold on. I'm pulling this off screen, but I gotta see like how much my orange is worth. Oh yeah, I might be up on profit on. Well, I got 2, so I don't know. I still don't know if I'm in profit. I was on orange on day 1, by the way. Like the very first day I was on orange. We actually did a live stream on New Year's Eve because it went live on New Year's Eve. That was like 2 years ago. Well, that's very interesting. Anyway, nice little pump up. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get to our last. It says they don't have a huge USDC pair. Interesting for orange. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull that back up. Then we're gonna get to our HBAR segment. Do you mean on like Tiny or something, or what do you mean? Interesting. Whew. I'll tell you what, I mean, I love doing these, but I don't know how those guys go. I don't know how some of the streamers do like 7 hours. I really don't. I know they watch a lot of videos, but they also react to them. Some don't. Like that's the whole thing going on with Ethan Klein. Lately, he's a lot in the Monko pair, he says. Interesting. Yeah, we're gonna do this. I'll hit pause on that. Oh, hold on, I gotta snap, crackle, pop. We're good. Oh, I made this. That's right, I made that. Hold on. There we go. Ooh. So Ethan Klein had a bunch of people who were basically stealing his content, and they were watching his videos and not reacting. Just they would just like basically let the video play, and they like intentionally stated that they were trying to steal his views because, you know, they're like ideological enemies, although not really. They're both on the left. I don't really understand it, but so he set a little trap for them and copyrighted the video before it went out so that he could sue them. Twitch is like, I'm not going to stream on Twitch anymore. I decided to be with Kick, and the reason is because Twitch is like this old. Twitch is kind of going with this old carryover idea of that, you know, they're like the Japanese soldier that doesn't know that World War II has ended and they still think they're fighting the battle. They're doing this very one-sided moderation where they only enforce the rules for some people and not others. And that's why a lot of these creators are going to Kick. A lot of the big creators are going to Kick now because of that. People like Hassan, Denims, and that they can do stuff that violate the terms of service and not get banned or any kind of consequences. But then people like Tectone or Ethan Klein, even Avsmangold, I think to a degree, they are getting that. They are getting those for like much more minor infractions. They're getting banned for like 2 weeks. It's pretty crazy. And what's funny is they're making like way more money on Kick. So that's why I'm big on Kick. I think it's a good platform. Kind of a horse apiece for me, to be honest. Like it's really tough to get viewers as a new streamer on any of those platforms. So I've been growing a little bit more on Kick though. So it's good. It's all good. All right, let's wrap up this HBAR segment because then I'm gonna call it a day here. And yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff, by the way. Fraka says he's been following that. Yeah, interesting to see. Yeah. It's one of my like guilty pleasures, this whole streamer drama thing, and I got a lot of respect for what they do, by the way. That's naughty. Like I said, I do these 2-hour ones on Friday and I'm usually toast by the end. Like my voice is dead. I don't know how they do like 7 hours a day. And I watched like Tectone went live like, what was it, Wednesday night, and I watched a whole bunch of it. Snail points up, says OG. I like it. Hey, Practice is an OG for sure. Guys, wait till you see the card game. It's a ton of fun. I'm not very good at it yet because like every time you start a new game, you don't know all the cards and you don't know the combos that work well. And I'm not that good. I'm not that good at these games. Like my nephew is like, he's like a Magic the Gathering wizard. I mean, he'll give me his best deck and take his worst deck and he'll still trounce me just because he's like, he knows the combos really well and all that stuff. And so, but you know, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the game. It's really slick. Honestly, I can't even see what's beta about it, to be honest. There's not really, I didn't really encounter anything where I'm like, oh, that needs to be fixed or anything like that. It seems pretty solid. Maybe some stuff that I'm not aware of, but yeah, we'll be doing a video on that soon. It's a sponsored video, but happy to do it. You know, I'm very careful about even like sponsor videos. Like if Solana wanted me to do a sponsor video, I wouldn't do it because I don't believe in Solana. So I'm very careful about what projects I take on. But you'll be seeing that soon. You'll like it. You'll really like it. Okay. We're gonna start the HBAR video. Which one should I start with? So starting with HBAR today, we are going to talk about HBAR, Hedera, having nodes in space. This is wild to me. We're going to get to that, but first I want to talk about, so HBAR, so Hedera got a new governing council member, and we have a little bit more about the motivations for the blockchain for energy joining the joining the council. I think this is pretty interesting. I always wonder about this stuff, like why would they do this? And this is a good example of why. We get to find out right from the company why they were motivated to join Hedera. Now, I do think, well, we'll get to that. Let's just go to this. She's the president and CEO for Blockchain for Energy. This is Blockchain for Energy. It looks a little confusing when you see the Twitter handle. Much easier to understand when you just see the card, Blockchain for Energy. So it kind of makes sense that they'd be on the governing council. And we haven't seen that necessarily with, it hasn't necessarily been like a lot of blockchain companies. Like it's been like Google, LG, IBM, Dell even was a more recent one. And so, yeah, let's just, but we haven't seen a lot of blockchain ones. So let's just see what Rebecca has to say.
My name is Rebecca Hoffman. I am the president and CEO of Blockchain for Energy. Blockchain for Energy is a member-led consortium made up of major energy companies. Currently, the consortium runs about 6 programs. One of our flagship programs is B4E Carbon. B4E Carbon is an end-to-end management system for monitoring, reporting, and verification. So it's a DMRV. Our involvement with Hedera HashGraph stems from using them as a base layer, and it allows us, the B4E Carbon solution, to have a public trust infrastructure based off of that. We use Hedera Guardian and its implementation from the Hedera DLT, which allows us to mint tokens and then also manage our data provenances, which is very important.
Yeah, and it actually brings down costs too. So one of the things recently that came out that we covered earlier in the week is how Hedera is building out a base layer for games. So instead of like the whole NFT thing, which I hasn't worked out as well as I thought it would, frankly, with having this base layer for games, it can make things way, way, way cheaper as opposed to like running it on the cloud or something, which gets really expensive. We just talked about how Algorand Casino was paying like $600 a day to run their company, and part of that was like the cloud services. Imagine how much it is for like a AAA game, and then you think about how Hedera can do the underlying processing for much, much cheaper. Makes sense, and they're kind of doing this for Blockchain for Energy. I think that makes a lot of sense, and you're going to see more of this kind of stuff, I think, with Hedera, probably with Algorand too.
The blockchain and the DLT world is truly an ecosystem, and I've always believed, and I like the foundation of Hedera, from their governing council and also how they not only govern, but their open source and their belief in open source. These are some of the same foundational things we believe in our consortium. So we felt it was important, as we're going to use Hedera with our use cases and our products, that we should have a voice and a say and be part of Hedera's council. What separates Hedera from other DLT and blockchains is their energy efficiency, their governance structure, and their enterprise-grade performance. It's very exciting to be part of things like tokenization, to be part of the wallet and all the different pieces of provenance and track and trace and all the things that basic blockchain can give you, and how that can be applied to industrial industries like ours. And so that's where we get a lot of energy that we can improve and create new seamless ways of working for all that are part of these industry platforms.
All right, I think we answered the main question that I wanted to address, but that was getting a little repetitive. I think it's like in a little bit, I don't know, HR sounding, but you get the idea. Like, I think the most important thing is how the base layer of Hedera can help with a company like this. So, and provide that bottom level infrastructure. Here's another one we're gonna watch. But yeah, this was I thought it was interesting because this they joined the council, and this is one of the first times I've seen them talk about like why they joined the Hedera council. Like, I haven't really seen Google. I mean, maybe they have somewhere. I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I haven't seen anyone say like, yeah, this is why we joined the council. Like, I haven't seen Google or LG address that. Dell did address that, actually. I take that back. Dell, I think when we covered Dell joining, they talked about it. But I want to talk about this too because I think this HBAR in space thing is super interesting. We'll just do this. I think we'll just do this short little, or should we do this one? Why is that dot space? Yeah. Why don't we just watch this whole thing here?
Hello, everybody. Just to give you an update on YSAT and the latest announcements we have made. So 2 days ago, we launched a new satellite, successful launch with the SpaceX from California. And this satellite is fully operational now. We are testing the connectivity with it. And
come on, you guys thought Star Wars, didn't you? The space is fully operational. Sorry, had to.
And this is part of the already very large operations that we started 5 years ago when we developed YSAT as a subset of the WISE-Key company. And we have something like 22 satellites being launched during the last years in cooperation with partners like FOSA, and also adding technology that has been incrementally being added with Hedera HBAR, what concerns blockchain operations in the space, with CL Coin, which is a crypto token that is being exchanged from the satellite to Earth stations, and also with the post-quantum technology as the satellites are embedding Volt-IC chips, which are CLSQ chips that allows the satellite basically to be very secure in what concerns the data they are transferred from the space. The main usage of those satellites is IoT, Internet of Things, although we are moving to other usage such as 5G communications from space with mobile phones, and also device-to-device transactions. So there's a very aggressive roadmap that will continue. Our first priority, obviously, has been to create enough satellites so the constellation is reactive to our needs. And although we have sent 22 satellites, the lifespan of those satellites is 3 to 5 years. So we have to continuously renew those satellites. So we have been already programming 7 more launches that will be spread during 2025 and 26. In plus of that, in order to accelerate the constellation, we have entered into a commercial agreement with AstroCat, which is one of the leading European satellite constellation providers. So
that's interesting, and I know it's not related, but there used to be an AstroCat ASA on Algorand. I think it was AstroCat, right? That was like an old one. That was like way back in the beginning Yieldly days. So I know I'm getting a little off topic, but I just thought of that. I also thought it was interesting that he mentioned the post-quantum nature of some of the security that they're putting in place. An interesting video to make sometime would be comparing Algorand quantum security with Hedera. I've had some arguments online about which is better. The person I was arguing with said, "Yeah, I made videos about it. Go see the videos." I'm like, "No, you're arguing now. Make the argument." But anyway, yeah, let's finish up this video.
AstroCat satellites are now being added to the YSAT constellation, and those satellites are now being able to interact with or Earth capabilities. So obviously, more satellites you have in orbit, more latency you have, and then you can use the satellite for more operations like container trekking in the middle of the sea, agricultural needs, trucks in the middle of the roads, smart cities efficiency, electrical grids, everything which is sustainable energy monitoring from the space, including climate change monitoring. So satellites are going to be increasingly important in the fourth industrial revolution. Many of those satellites are obviously much cheaper than they were a few years ago, and the price is going down and down, which will also encourage organizations that do not use the space or they are concerned that usage of the space is very expensive to change their mind, because space is going to be the cheapest and more efficient way to connect anything on Earth. The IoT revolution, which is projected to something like 2 trillion objects to be connected to the internet in the years to come. So imagine those objects being connected to the internet through the satellite will be the shortest way of connecting them, the more efficient and the more secure.
By the way, I hate the IoT thing, the Internet of Things. I don't want smart devices. I hate them. My washer and dryer are so old. They don't even heard of a computer. That's why I want to keep them. I don't want stuff like, it's cool that they're doing this. I think it's really cool that, Hedera is like the underlying infrastructure for these satellites. But man, I don't want the less things connected to the internet, the better, in my opinion. I want like my things that are meant to access the internet, cool. But like, yeah, my fridge doesn't need to go on the internet. It doesn't need to do that. It just needs to keep my food cold. That's all. That's it. That's all it needs to do. My dryer just needs to dry things. It doesn't need to have an AOL account. It doesn't need to have a TikTok account. It just needs to dry my clothes. That's it. That's all I need. I just, that whole stuff drives me nuts. I just don't want it. I don't want it. And a lot of people don't want it. They don't want all that crap.
Sure.
Anyway,
because obviously hacking satellite is much more complex than hacking data centers or servers on Earth. Also in the blockchain space, we are planning to provide blockchain nodes in the space. This is a very aggressive technology that we are being testing with companies like Hedera, and that will allow us in the future to decentralize the nodes, not only on Earth, but also in space. So a lot of progress. That progress will be continuing during 2025-26. Monetization of space is obviously a hard thing because the business models are not yet fully tested. We have a good business model as we are renting the satellite as a service, but we also provide, like a telco will do, space time, satellite time to our clients, and this is recurrent revenue. So
H3 or HC, or damned right, I'm a dinosaur. Bring on my Jurassic Park dryer. That's all I gotta say.
So I just wanted to explain a bit more our strategy in YSAT and the progress so far. And we are very happy together with our team of the work being done and the amazing constellation that we are building together with our partners. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for your attention. Yeah, so he's right about the business model. So a long time ago, I managed to get into this influencer program that got to tour NASA. So I went to the Goddard Space Center over is it in Baltimore? It's in Maryland, I believe, right? I can't remember if it was technically in Maryland or if it was over the border. But one of my big takeaways was how integrated NASA was with the private sector. And I think they said something, maybe I can't remember the number, but I thought it was something like for every NASA employee, there was like 60 private sector employees that it supported. So one of the things NASA did was it took on some of these hard challenges, like different things in space. Like they were testing out some like automatic repair programs for their satellites. And so they take on some of the R&D cost and some of the testing, and then private sector can benefit from that. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I think that's kind of what what they're talking about here is like they're taking on a lot of those costs. Yeah, so very interesting, and I think it's interesting just because Hedera is involved in this. I like the idea of that. I think that's really interesting. Did I have anything else? I thought I had something else Hedera related. Well, we covered this stuff. This stuff we covered earlier in the week, like Hashpack going on being available on Apple Pay or supporting Apple Pay and Google Pay on ramps. Like I think that's a pretty big deal. We covered that already, so I'm not going to get into it. But I think that's good. I think that's very interesting. Was that my only HBAR stuff? I think it was. Yep. Other than earlier we had the HBAR prediction video. So yeah, really cool stuff on HBAR going on. Like I said, and I think he kind of pointed that having that much stuff going on, it might not like have a short-term impact on the price, but what it does do is it provides a platform for stability. Because if you have these many customers, that means you have a real use case in the world, and that means that these programs are these blockchains like Algorand, like HBAR, are probably going to stick around for a while. And that's why I cover utility coins, because I think they actually have a use in the world. But as you'll see, I don't always count on them to be my price movers. So I have coins that like Solana, like Sui, these are my price movers, and I keep them in my portfolio. That doesn't mean I think they're going to be useful. I'm not actually going to do anything on them. Sui is an interesting one. I'm mostly down on it because of what happened after the hack and the way they approached it in a very centralized way. So that's my thought on that. But yeah, I think stuff like HBAR, like Algorand, other utility coins like that are going to be solid. I'm also a fan of XRP because I think they are trying to do something in the real world. I think XRP people. Listen, I love you guys. But you guys are like you definitely over-index. They're probably the most zealous community in crypto, I think. They think it's going to solve everything. I know everyone gets like that a little bit. We all get wrapped up in our coins, but that doesn't mean I don't think XRP is bad. I mean, I'm covering it on here for a reason. I think it's got its niche in banking, and I think it'll probably be a strong player in that. So, I'm going to take the headphones off, but well, at least we got to end on a good note. Oh, I'm going to pull that up again. I just want to see that. Because look how, is it all still, yeah, look at all that green, man. Look at all that green, especially Tiny. I like seeing Tiny go up. That makes me happy because a lot of my rewards are in Tiny. Oops, I should help if I share it, wouldn't it? Just look at all that green popping up. Like I said, when I started the stream, this was all red, except for Opulus. Haha. Sorry, I really hate Opulus. I have my reasons. They got mad when I made a video about how they were leaving Algorand. It's like, I'm sorry, am I wrong about that? Are you actually leaving Algorand? Are you not leaving Algorand? Nope, then I'm the bad guy. So yeah, the heck with them. Yeah, this is nice. This is just a nice way to leave the stream. I love leaving the stream with a whole bunch of green. Whole bunch of green. All right, guys. Well, dude, I appreciate everyone turning in. This is 2 hours, 20 minutes. We haven't done one of those in a while. Obviously, the Christmas stream was like 4 hours. I think y'all remember that. Thanks everyone who was there, by the way. That was a fun stream. I didn't get a lot of participation. Yeah, a lot of people that said they were going to be on weren't able to make it, unfortunately. Might handle it a little differently next year. We're going to try to do a long one, though, again. It was fun. So, it's always hard to end these streams when you have so many people watching. You feel like you just want to keep it going, but yep, got to get on to other things. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope everyone is doing well out there. Appreciate all the comments, all the chats, all the likes, all that stuff. You can still hit that like button. I don't mind. Thanks everyone for tuning in, whether you're on X, whether you're on Kick, whether you're on YouTube, and we had viewers on all of them. So appreciate that a lot. I really think the second half of the season, so to speak, the second half of the year is going to be telling. Hopefully what we're seeing now is like the start. I would really like that, but it's going to come, I think. but it will be telling, you know, if we don't really get much movement by the end of the year on alts, I'm going to start being a little concerned. So that's all I got. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and appreciate everyone. I really do appreciate you guys. These are really fun to do. Like I said, they're, you know, they really crush my voice. They're kind of exhausting in some ways, but they're really fun to do. I just think it's really neat to be able to chat with everybody and, you know, build